Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. I thought it was about time I did another um, video edition of The Pursuit of Truth. So normally these go out on Anchor FM first. So this one will be going out on YouTube first, and then I'll be making an audio version for Anchor FM, which goes on to lots of different sites now. It even goes on to Spotify, is it Google Cast, Apple Cast, whatever they're called, whatever Apple and Google's podcast streamlining things are. So yeah, you can find it on lots of different places. Not that anyone does, but anyway. So if you want to see the video version, it's on YouTube under my YouTube channel, John Doyle Poems. John Doyle is not my real name, just in case it's the first time you're tuning into The Pursuit of Truth. My name is Harris Maguire, and John Doyle is a name that I came up with. I think it was when I was at college. I don't think it was when I was at school. It was when we were doing a film. At least I believe this is what I remember. We were doing I was doing media, so we were doing a project, and I wanted to put a poem in it. I don't know why I wrote a poem. I can't remember why. Maybe I saw some film, could be Elephant Man or something like that, and I thought, a poem is quite a clever way to convey things. So I wanted to write one, and rather than putting my own name, I used John Doyle. To hide that it was me, just so that people would look at it objectively or not laugh at me. So I could say, no, it's not mine, I didn't write it, it was John Doyle, whoever he is, I found it. He's this Irish guy. Not that I'm Irish either. It's only because the name, John Doyle, I think the name I got from was all my characters. I used to make radio programs with my sister, so a lot of them for some reason used to be called John, and Doyle is probably Arthur Conan Doyle, because I had a Sherlock Holmes collection. Not that I read it. Anyway, so, cut to the chase. So I just wanted to do a sort of roundabout where I am with things currently after 150 editions of this podcast. So you're basically going to hear the same thing over and over again. But I've noticed that us humans, we tend to repeat ourselves anyway. In our themes that we all have, and we all have different themes that we project. Before I do, first of all, breaking news: Big Brother covered flat Earth. Hardeep, I don't know his surname. I believe he asked a question about whether people believed that the Earth was round, and he previously was voted the most intellectual member or intelligent member of the Big Brother people in there, and he seemed to believe that it was questionable, and that I assumed he believed it was flat. But yeah, there was some really silly stuff that came out about, I can't remember what was it Jermaine said about a piece of bread, when you slightly tilt it, that it might, hide the curve because it's only a fraction or something like that. So, yeah, it wasn't taken really, really seriously, but it was interesting to note that on Big Brother, which is a reality TV program, I'm sure everyone knows about it, the subject is actually mentioned. So it is actually, I was going to say trending, it is getting out there. So my stance on it is obviously originally I believed, well, I say I believed. I didn't ever question it, that says a lot. So my understanding was the Earth was a ball. I believed in the NASA pictures. I'm a big sci-fi fan. I like Doctor Who. I like 2001: A Space Odyssey. I like Quatermass. That's before I was born. I like all that kind of Blade Runner sci-fi type stuff. Stephen King, all that thriller, horror, sci-fi types thing. So I used to believe in it. When I was young, I remember at school we had a project, and I did this big poster of the solar system, and I was really chuffed about it. I had all the different planets. So yeah, I was into space, and I believed it. I saw the pictures. I always wanted to watch the first man on the moon, when NASA went in 1969, but it was always difficult to find the footage of that. So yeah, I believed in it. But the thing is, I never questioned it. I was born in Portsmouth, which is a coast, and I used to go to the beach and see the sea. I never thought about the ships going over the horizon. And then I started listening to, no, I don't really remember. Originally I was looking at conspiracy things like 9/11 and stuff like that, because originally if you listen to it, was in 2008, 2009, I did this. Well, I was doing blog TV before, but I was doing these things called The View, very similar to this, and I was talking about those types of things. But I believed, I knew the war of terror, the Iraq, Afghanistan war from Tony Blair and George W. Bush. I knew that was a lie, that 45 minutes, there was no weapons of mass destruction, and it was just a way to get in there for the power, for the land, for the oil, for whatever reason it was to get in there. But I used to believe in the Twin Towers coming down. It was only recently when I was watching these conspiracies, when there were lots of red flags and there were the things they were suggesting, that made me think, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. There's, like, how could a passport fly out of a plane, intact, but it was going through a building, and, how did that building ever fall down? Which I'm surprised I never thought about that previously, because no other building's ever come down like that before, or since. Even buildings that have been hit by planes, or buildings that have been blown up, or fires that have lasted longer or hotter. So yeah, it started me thinking about those things, and I remember I saw a flat earth thing, it came up on the side of YouTube, and I laughed at it and thought, no, it's a joke. And I know people had already said that it was, people thought it was, like a way to pull people away from conspiracy theories or make them look silly or whatever. But then I watched it, I can't remember if it was OBD or who it was, but I watched a few things, and I remember I watched Jamie Brown as well. And I used to listen to it at night, because he used to do his shows like during the night, so I used to listen to him. And it started, I can't remember, I think it was OBD, and I think it was, I can't remember his name, it was the guy that was on This Morning. He was doing a presentation, and I know that was part of it, but I know there was other things I saw that made me question the sea and bendy water, which I never ever thought of before. I never thought of, wait a minute, I know that water is always flat, but I never ever thought about, wait a minute, but this picture that NASA is showing us, the blue marble of the Earth, is showing that the oceans bend, the land bends, everything bends. It's a circle, it bends every direction, and yet all I've ever seen is flat things. Yeah, I've seen bumps and things, like mountains and hills and stuff like that. But water, I've only ever seen it level. So then I just started to question that, and I thought, wait a minute, why have I never even thought about that ever before? And then I saw stuff about, the ships going over the sails, the ships going, is it bottom first, which they claim is showing the curve. But of course, with cameras at eye level, you can zoom in. So you can have a person, you can have a camera next to each other, and you with your eyes will see it going over the so-called imaginary curve. But the camera can then zoom in a little bit and show that it's still there. Now, obviously, the camera and our eyes, we have limits, so you can't do it forever. But it just shows that it was because that was hundreds of years ago, and that's because we didn't have technology then, and we were using our eyes. And yeah, it appeared to be that, but now with the camera, we can see that what appeared to be is not true, because the camera can show us. I mean, it can't show us forever, because everything, the way atmosphere is, the way the camera and the eye, like lots of people say, well, if the Earth's flat, why can't I see Paris? Why can't I see the Eiffel Tower? As if, you have 200-mile vision or something, which we all know we don't have that kind of vision. We also know, anyone who has a camera knows that, there is a certain limit to how far that camera can see as well. That's optics. So yeah, it made me question those things. And I mean, I don't know where we are. I'll put it that way. But I guess I'm safe to say that I don't believe that what they're telling us makes sense to me, because I can't understand how, if I fill a container full of water, it will be level. If I move it either way, it'll start flowing. So how can it bend? And I know people will come up with gravity and I don't know if it's gravity pulling us down or gravity from the mass of the Earth pulling us down, whichever way. and that's a theory. It's never been that they can't prove it. So all these things that you're taught at school, and I know a lot of things you're taught at school from books by people who just read books and spout it out, and no one ever independently researches it. And it's not, I mean, I know there are scientists that do these types of things, but it's, we as individuals, we never really do this. It's only when we start looking at things and we start to realise, oh, that's a bit questionable. And I know people will then say, wait a minute, who are you to question the great, scientists of the world of thousands of years ago? But that always makes me laugh, in the sense that as human beings, a lot of the things that we believe in, government, systems, everything around us, a lot of it comes from thousands of years ago by people that wouldn't even be able to understand how to use a bloody iPhone, wouldn't be able to use a smart device. They'd have no concept of it. If you sat them in front of Doctor Who, they wouldn't even understand what was going on. And yet we follow the systems that they have set up or have been evolved through them, and that we're still following to this today. And I start to question, as an enlightened species who, assumingly is getting more, I was going to say civilized, more intelligent as time goes on. You would assume that would be the case. But then that's not always true, because we know that if you dumb down a generation by putting shit on television, if you ever look at your TV guide and see the rubbish that is on television, and a lot of it is because these national television companies don't have the money to be putting these big movies that the big ones, like Sky and people like that are doing. You look at what they're actually churning out is absolutely rubbish. And yeah, so it's not always true to say that just because of time the species will be more intelligent. You would hope that would be the way it should be, but it is possible that it could reach that and then start going down, because people are not being taught to think. People are sitting in front of their phones. People are listening to this, but the thing is that's the thing that we do as humans. Because the way we're taught as children, we just follow. As a baby comes as a blank sheet, it doesn't know anything. It knows how to do certain things. I don't know exactly what it does know and what we teach it, but most of it picks up from us. We're the ones that pick it up. We're the ones that put things in its mouth. We're the ones that teach them how to speak English, or wherever you're born. If you go, a baby through different times, through different countries will be different and have a different truth, different perspective, different way of living, different world. So that proves that it's the teaching that forms that child, that formed me, that formed the way I think. Even today, the way I think has been constructed by all the teaching I've been given. So I can't, I could easily just attack it and say, but the teaching doesn't teach you individual thought. But it has done something, because I'm here, able to speak to you, to communicate. If I was in a jungle and I didn't have anyone around me, I wouldn't have any capacity to speak. I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't be dressing clothes. I wouldn't be, having these thoughts about my existence, about the world, about history, about the future, whatever. So yeah, I can't knock. Education has its point, but I think that it needs to be more. The thing is, we tend to just believe. Someone stands in front of us and fills us full of information and then tests us upon it. But no one ever questions, well, is that information actually correct? We assume it is, because we assume that a person with a white coat is a scientist, has prestige, and why would they lie to us? Why would people lie to us? Well, come on, you've got to be naive not to believe that there is always a possibility why people lie to you. Humans lie all the time. We know that. That is part of, I don't know if we're taught that or that's an intrinsic part of us, but we do lie all the time. Just look at the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq and Afghanistan. The two premiers of those countries, they stood up to their people and told them, like in the UK, they told them, Saddam Hussein had weapons that could hit us in 4 or 5 minutes. People laughed at that, but lots of people believed it. Millions have believed it. People, we know, Kofi Annan, now passed away, he said after the war, not at the time, obviously because of pressure, I assume, head of the UN, that the war was illegal. We all know it was illegal. We all know there was no weapons of mass destruction there. We all know he didn't have the capability to do what he said. He had no threat over the UK or the US. That we all know. Surely we can all agree on that, but there will be people that still won't believe in that. That will still believe that what they did was the right thing and it was true, and that I'm now lying to you. But I'm just trying to show you how, through that lie that was done Now, we don't know who actually lied, whether they were fed lies or they lied to us or they were complicit in that lying. Whatever the way is, we know it was a lie, it wasn't true. People died for it, people in Iraq, Afghanistan, people around the world that joined in from either side. But it was a lie. But people went to war, people supported it, people, cheered and all those types of things. So that's a proof of in our lifetime we have seen, and there's many of them. We know politicians all the time are being caught for lying. We know celebrities that these days, who hasn't heard of a celebrity who's been lying about their past, about the things they're doing? There's a whole list of them. It's all coming out now, all these lies. But this has been happening. This is part of humanity, is lying. So to say that, oh, well, why would a professor, why would Isaac Newton, why would Galileo, why would Albert Einstein lie? Well, why would anyone lie? But people do it, don't they? So we can't. The thing is if it's a species, we're just going to sit back and, like if I give you a book and Newton wrote that or Albert Einstein wrote that, then just believe it. Well, you can't just believe it. It's like even like with religion, you could question that. Like, how do we know it's true? How do we know whether God did actually give these insights to these people, or they just created this God figure up to control us all? Was that just another part of it from the Roman Empire, who were failing, and then they created this thing, and then other countries have done the same thing? Who really knows? But the fact is that it teaches you, even in the Bible or the Quran, that blind faith is worth nothing. There is no point in just following. So what does that mean? So at least they're teaching you that you need to actually question it. You need to challenge it. You need to understand it. And I believe that's the same with everything, that we should be questioning. I don't think it's just a case of saying, here's a book and, that's it. Well, what if that person lied? I mean, if you don't question it, you would never know, is it? I know people will be laughing and thinking, this idiot on YouTube, why, But it just, individual thought and individual analysis, I think, is so important. It's something that we don't do enough of. So yeah, I believe in that now, that we need to always question everything. I mean, that doesn't mean you can't believe. That doesn't mean that things are right or wrong. But the fact is that a lot of people will just spout things out. And I've done this myself. I would just spout things out that I have no way of proving. It's just I heard it or I was taught it. We as human beings can have arguments. You must have had an argument where you've had an argument about something. Like even with my wife today, there was this clip that showed this. It didn't show the complete thing, that two cars had crashed, a bus and a car crashed with each other, and the woman was attacking the bus with like a windscreen wiper that had fallen off and breaking the bus. The man from the bus stood in front of her car, and she tried to move him out of the way, tried to push the car to move him out of the way, and all that kind of thing. We had a sort of like semi-argument about who was right and who was wrong. I mean, it had nothing to do with us, but we had this argument about it. But so I've actually lost the train of thought of why I was actually mentioning that point. But it was what was it to do with? To do with us arguing? I don't remember now. But yeah, anyway, that was the point I was trying to make. So anyway, I'm not going to remember it. I tried to pause and to try and think of what I was trying to remember, but I can't rewind back to see what I was trying to say. So I was probably making a really great point, and then it's gone. So anyway, let's just move on. So yeah, I've covered Flat Earth. I've covered conspiracies. The only other thing that I know I mention a lot on these things is the way our life is, the existence that we have. Wait a minute, I was just trying to think what that was it to do with analysis? To do with both having different opinions? Or was it to do with distraction and triggering? I don't know. Maybe it's all of those things. Anyway, so yeah, the other thing is that my way of thinking now is how we are on this planet and the way that we're living. And I think that's the most important thing. That, I mean, irrespective if you want to believe in scientists, if you want to believe in globe Earth, if you want to believe in flat Earth, if you want to believe in 9/11 or not, the Iraq-Afghanistan war, of teaching, of, you know, whatever. This thing, I think, maybe it's what all of those things are coming towards, and part of the reason for them, in my view, is the way that we're living, the world of lies that we're living in, the web of lies. This system that was devised thousands of years ago by people who are long dead, who may not have had good motives for what they did, for building this structure. Because we're following things from minds that, you know, were all about captivity, about colonialism, about control. You know, like the way I believe it is, the world we live upon is all of ours. Now, I don't believe in this idea of claiming, because how can you claim something that is not yours? You know, if someone else made this world, you know, obviously from a religious point of view, I believe God made this world. But if you believe in that it was made through the Big Bang and all that kind of stuff, this world was made. Those people in the past who are obviously more selfish than us and more controlling than us, they decided that they wanted to say, well, this is my land. Now, it took, depending on like whose historical view of mankind is right, we either came from Africa or we came from, is it Iran? Or maybe there was two tribes or whatever. Maybe there was millions. Who knows how it all happened, that we all moved into different places. But at one point, someone decided, I'm going to put a flag down. This is my country. It's not your country. We don't know what the people in those times looked like. There could have been a mix of everyone. But this person claims this country, this person, this one, and now we live in this place where it's all cut up. And this is America, this is the United Kingdom, this is Australia, this is Japan, you know, wherever. This is historical. This is from people whose minds, you know, wouldn't be able to have a conversation with you today in the same way. You would be repulsed by the things that they believe upon, the way that they live. But they're the ones who have formed this structure that we're now stuck in, this jail that we're stuck in, this invisible jail. And that's the one thing I think is the most important thing that we get rid of, because it will solve all these other problems, in the sense that if we actually live in a world where we all agree that we have no ownership of this world, that it's all of ours, that then you can say, well, wait a minute, how is it possible for a poor man to be poor? Because he owns everything, like we all do. Why is it we've allowed our world to be cut up and other people to say that I'm going to sell you what is yours? The electricity, the water, the things that all the things that everything is built upon is, yes, it's taken scientists and people like that to come up with some of these things, but they've used the things that are on this earth to be able to do that. And so it's all of ours, and that's what we need to try and move upon. I think that's a more enlightened way, a more a philosophical way, no, I can't even say, I'm not going to bother. A good way to to look at how we should live. We should live helping each other, not wasting our time manufacturing millions and millions of the same things. Different companies of cars, different companies of Fairy Liquid, different companies of biscuits, you know, all these different things that are just out there just to make competition, just to be able to say, no, don't buy theirs, buy mine. All that kind of rubbish that we're wasting our time, we're wasting our life on. If you've seen the last 3 podcasts, you'll see more in depth about these different things. But I think that's the most important thing. And I know that even people will rail against that because they love the system that they're in. Or maybe, you know, I'm stupid in thinking that man can be better than it is. Maybe man is selfish, and it's impossible for man to say, no, this isn't America, this isn't England, this isn't mine, this is everyone's. You all have a right. You don't have to have a paper passport. You don't have to have a birth certificate to prove who you are. You don't have all these false, fake paradigms, these false systems. We stop all this rubbish, we start again, and we have a true system where it's actually based on reality, that it's all of ours, that no one has claim of it, and that we help each other out. And that we live by truth and not by lies. But whether that's possible, I don't know. But anyway, I think that I've rambled on enough. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Take it easy. God bless. And peace.